So this is Cassie, a 12-year-old mare, had a riding career so far, and the lady's got another one, another coloured horse, I think it's a coloured horse, about the same size, etc., that already drives. Now, it's quite interesting that she said she wants to transition the other horse into a rubber bit. So she's asked us to obviously put it together with a pair with Cassie. I don't know what he's called, the other one. Ben. Oh, Ben. So he's coming in the next couple of 3 days. Come on, baby, walk up. But this horse here has turned out well. I don't know how much it's done in the past. I would say it's a little bit hard-mouthed, but then any horse that comes to us, they all go in a rubber bit, and quite often you'll find that any when you put a rubber bit in, it's very soft. But if you can get the reaction that we've got here on a rubber bit, that's lovely. So the steering's perfect. So if I want to walk her up this white line here, for instance, as I'm doing, just to show you, just to keep her on that line, it's happening with a rubber bit. If you say to me, well, if you haven't got the control or haven't, go on, let me go, babe, adapted the horse to a rubber bit. That's it. See that there, where it is with the traffic, is lovely. So I can put it up that line, I can put it over there so it walks down the side of it and don't put his feet on the broken white line. I can bring it over the other side and put his feet. So that shows me, if you can do that with a rubber bit, that you've got to, you're getting the relationship with the horse, with its mouth and the way you drive. So when I say the way you drive, it's everybody drives as they drive. But basically what I mean is she's not having her head pulled off. She's not being held there with a lump of iron and a bloody curb train. She's just standing there and working in that confined space because we've asked her to. Yeah, because obviously with a rubber bit, it's very soft and gentle. And you have to teach them to accept it after they've had something heavier in. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, the lady that owns it at all in any way, shape or form. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, as a general rule, when they've been in a metal bit, you've got to get them to come into a rubber bit. There's no point in putting them in the rubber bit if then they don't do exactly what you want them to do. Otherwise, there was no point in doing it in the first place. You've got to have full control. So, and they make me, it just annoys me that the only reason all them metal bits were made was not for the benefit of a bloody horse, let me tell you. It was the inability of man to have the time and patience to drive them, just in a soft piece of rubber. And that's got to be kinder, it's got to be nicer. And if you can stop it, on a sixpence with a rubber bit in, if you can take it out in this, this traffic's only light, but there'll be some heavy stuff comes past us, no doubt. Right, so I'm going to put her over here now on these chevrons, right? But over this time tight. You see, so she's tight, her feet, if you look down at her feet, she's tight along the side of these chevrons. So I'm steering her there, and so therefore she must be answering me. So if I go then, we'll put her on the outside of that line and put her there, and she'll go along there as quiet as a lamb. Well, I'm steering her, so she's answering the bit. So even after they've had a metal bit in, we retrain them. We don't, every horse that comes is in a rubber bit, so I don't mean to be rude in any way, but if someone wants it kept in a metal bit, I wouldn't bother doing the horse. I'd let someone else break it, train it. If I can do this, so I'll bring this horse over here now. Got a big old lorry coming down. I'll bring the horse right over to the lorry as tight as I can without frightening the lorry. So no problem whatsoever. There's no, oh dear, throwing its head up in the air or upset in any way. And it's just walking along nice, dealing with everything around it. So the communication I've got is only two things you've got, obviously, is your voice and your hands. I.e. the bit in its mouth, so your voice and the bit, yeah? Well, it's working nicely doing that. If you look at all our films, I mean, you see the films of horses at different stages. We got one in at the minute that will not stand still. So it wants to come out the yard at 90 mile an hour, right? It doesn't want to stop at junctions. It's just what's it? So you've got to cure it of that. I've got to show it there's another way. There's no need to behave like that. So we got this big old tractor coming down here with the boom on the back, look, etc. And I will come over here so it can see it, but I don't want to block traffic behind me. We'll go right over there like that, yeah? And then bring her back over this side of the road. So there you go, and then we're going to ask her now. Trot, babe, trot. Good girl, so slack rein, can you see? All this about you must have a firm contact at all times. You've got to be able to stop her. All this horse she's got in his mouth is a soft piece of rubber. It's a wendering bit. They are expensive. They're not the only one around. We use them because they last forever. There's lots of different horses we do. Come up, babe. Come on, trot on. You see, now I'm going to stop this horse, yeah? So I just go, whoa. Stand still, darling. Stand still, baby. I'll ask her to come back. Come back, sweetheart. Come back, darling. Come back. Come back. Come back. With horses used to a metal bit, and then to do what you want to on a rubber bit like that, then when they say, but you've got to be able to stop them, I just stop the horse on the sixpence at the trot, and I'll do it to canter or full gallop. No full stop. If they're trained to it, and what we got to do, we don't seem to be prepared to see the world through their eyes, right? See the world through their eyes. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's say someone's dropped a coat, a jacket off the top of their car. It blew off the top because they rested it in there while they was putting their shop in, left it on there, it blows off, right? Well, we know what that is roughly by a long distance off. Our brain can look at it, analyse what it sees, what's it. To a horse, that could be a tiger hidden underneath there. It could be anything you could possibly think, and it'll look at it and stare at it and be frightened of it and snort and blow. Yeah? Come on, my baby. That's it. So we're able, by putting the effort in, putting a horse between the shafts, right, like this, or put it in a pair, it's pretty simple, really. It's pretty simple. It's, the real training is in this type of work, where this horse will do exactly what I asked it to do when I asked it to do it. Not when I tell it, not when I force it, when I asked it to do it. Whoa. So it starts this to stop now. Stand still. There's traffic going by. Walk on, baby. Walk. And when I get it going, you know, come on, hop, trot. If you look down at his feet there, you see it's holding its tail a little bit between its back legs, you know. That's where it's not quite settled yet. So now we're getting a bit of speed up. Hop, my baby, go on. Go on, my girl. So we're at the canter now. Now I want to stop it in a rubber bit. Right, in a rubber bit. Here we go. Whoa. Stand still, darling. Walk on, bud. Go. And then you want them to walk away like that after the excitement of cantering up the road. People will say to me, oh, you must never do that, you shouldn't trot horse on this. And listen, I've been doing this a long, long time. Dear old Rowley, who I worked with, Bentley before that, many, many years ago, he would canter on the road, Rowley, every day of his life. And he'd work 7 days a week, certainly 6. Loved his work, head up in the air, was rock hard iron fit. And he would go up the road. He never had any problem with his legs whatsoever. And I put him to sleep at 26 years old. The reason I put him to sleep, he was still up working and doing his job, loved his job. Anyway, it upsets me to talk about it really, but he was like, you know, part of the firm. He was one of the trainers, definitely, probably more important than I'd be, you know what I mean, as far as that goes, training them. He was the headmaster, you know. But he got melanomas under his tail. Well, that didn't matter. We leave the crooper off. Then he got one up in his groin. Then he got one in his armpit. And the vet said, right, if they get any bigger, we can take them out. You know, that won't be too much of a problem. We can take them out. I don't understand it, but as I believe, there's different types of melanoma. So they all grow like a cyst type thing, if you like. And some can be removed quite easily. And this one under his armpit, you could move it about, you know, they literally slide it. So it wasn't particularly fixed to the flesh under the skin. It just seems to be like floating. I mean, obviously it must have been fixed in some way, but not rooted into. Then, so that was all right. And then he got one in his throat, which was terrible. And it grew up around his voice box. And, well, he couldn't breathe, just basically, you know. And he was totally miserable because he'd whinny like mad, you know, to go out. I find it hard to talk about that now. I know it's silly, but he was my mate, you know, for years. So that, right, you know, come on, my baby. Good girl. We had to have him, well, I put him to sleep myself, you know, with like supervision of the vet, right? But I put him to sleep. The last one to see him or talk to him or anything. Lovely, lovely, lovely horse. So he cantered on the road every day of his life. He never had any. I don't think I can honestly say in 23 years, we never had a vet's bill for anything. He never needed it, you know. I used to put a bit of stuff in his, little bit of sand in his, you know, you got to know what you're doing, the right amount, etc. Keep his teeth right. If you say to me, why does that work? Well, wild horses don't get some of the dentists come round and check them, does it? Do you know what I mean? He was shod by a real good farrier that understood what's it, and also would listen to what you were saying, you know, would respect your opinion enough. But he would tell you, no, that's not going to work. That's not good for that horse. But we, you know, he had his shoes on, and he was like beautiful. Like he'd wear them dead level on every shoe. Fix road nails where they'd be needed and like that, and he was as happy as a lark, and he would work away all the time. He went in there to, you know, in the morning, feed him his grub. You could open his door and he'd come walking over to the harness rack and have his harness put on. You know, stand there, put his head down while you put it up his neck. You wouldn't have to tie him up to anything, just stand there. And then when you asked him to, you know, to come outside and go on the cart, he'd back himself in down the side of the pole if he was taking one out or if we was doing a tandem or whatever. I mean, he didn't do every horse with me, but he'd done that. But what I'm saying is, I've just cantered up the road. A lot of people say, well, you should never do that. Well, we're not cantering for miles and miles. The horse ain't carrying weight on its back as it would be with a rider. It's got the weight of those shafts, and that's shared because one part of it is fixed to the carriage and the other part's there and a bit of harness. Well, this new harness, this biofane stuff, I mean, that's not a new set, that's an old set. Old Heartland harness, that is. From Heartland, they made it for me a little bit heavier, you know, a little tiny bit heavier here and there, because it gets so much wear. So that's what I want to see. So I just stopped that there to show you. The horse hasn't walked away. If you look at my reins, they're not hanging on his mouth at all. But we're letting all this traffic that's built up behind us in a short time to go by. Oh, look. So the reason I mentioned all of that was the fact of cantering the horse on the road. People say you shouldn't trot him, you shouldn't do that. Well, you know, we do a lot of horses, never had a problem yet. Walk up, my darling. There's a good baby. So old Cass, she's doing well. And she's an older horse. I think she's 12-year-old now. And to come to this driving job in the way that she has, I mean, obviously, you know, I don't mean to be big-headed or anything, but we know what we're doing, and you have to adapt yourself and the way you're training horse to suit the horse, not to suit you. You know, we should have enough. We're supposed to have a bigger brain. Sometimes I wonder, but you have a bigger brain so that you use your brain and think, well, if we do this, do that. With this horse a bit older, a bit set in its ways, got to cajole it a bit, kid it a bit. So there we go. Yeah, so she's really doing well. Nice made mare. Don't think she's had a foal. I can't remember whether I had a look at her bag or others, you know, her teats, whether I look at them or not, because normally you can tell by the shape of them, etc., whether it's had a foal. I don't think it has. I can't remember whether I looked. But a lovely, lovely made mare. Kind, gentle mare. Took a little bit of understanding exactly what you wanted. You'd need to just give her a little bit of time to soak it up. Do they hear that noise going past it? Most horses would be jumping and scooting all over the place, you know, with that. And it's not acceptable on the public highway today. They say pass wide and slow and all these sort of things, and put a big onus on the motorcar driver, which I don't say is particularly wrong, but, you know, horses should be trained to cope with it. To be fair to the poor bloody horse, so it can cope with it. So you sit behind here, right, and I talk away to them and kid them like that when they're first coming, even at her age. Talk away to her, come on my baby girl, you can do it. There's a good baby, yes you are. Like that, you know, you see her ears come back and lay right on me tight when I speak like that. And that gives them a lot of solace, a lot of, oh, that's all right. But you can't talk to them like that forevermore, because otherwise they're waiting for you to say, yeah, this is all right. You know, do you understand what I mean? So that, you know, they're waiting for you to say, oh, this is all right. You know, you can carry on. What they've got to do is, once you've got them in and they're going, then your time should be spent in building their confidence in their self, so they haven't got to rely on you. So when they're out in the front, because they're out the front there, they are on their own. We put blinkers on them and take 80% of the vision away. You know, put a bloody great cart behind them, or a small cart, big cart, whatever cart you like. We stick it behind them, attach it to them. When you think about it for a minute, it takes a bit of justification. So you've got to do it in the best possible way you can. And get your horses like this: safe, confident and happy. And they've got to be happy. Why shouldn't they be happy? They should love it and enjoy it. Well, they're not going to do that if, you know, if they're frightened, upset or whatever. I just explained to you about, you know, a bit of rag in the middle of the road, an old coat or something. We know what it is. They don't. And they'll get right up to it. You know, to get them to stand over it. If the road was empty and you could get them to stand over it, there'd be ages getting up. Well, there's no point in, you know, giving them a smack and making them go forward to look at it. That's no good. You've got to, each horse is different. You get another one like he's naturally, no, just walk, darling, just walk. He's naturally, see this big old truck coming past here, look. He'll come right over to it. What he said over there, look. But she wants to get on now. So I've got to say to her, steady, babe, just walk. Not that I don't want her to get on, she wants to have a trot. But she's got to do what I asked her to do. She's got to do it without fighting or arguing. She's got to do what I asked her to do, and asked her is the most important thing. Not tell her, not make her. Big brave men doing that, that's nothing to do with it. Use your head, see the world through their eyes, right, and then try and work with them. You've got to see the world through their eyes. And none of this makes any sense to them whatsoever. Sticking a set of harness, put something in their mouth, you know, normally a lump of iron, yeah? Put it on here, and then we've got the bloody cheek to sit on its back and kick it up the ribs. Unbelievable, really, when you think about it like that. So you've got to do it in the kindest, gentlest possible way. And what I've found, you get the best out of them. All right, babe, trot, trot. Go on, you can go now, go on.